All right, y'all, what's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99. I'm back with another video. All right, y'all, so I just wanted to drop a follow-up video and give y'all my thoughts on the situation with Amanda Nunes and, her recently announced third fight between her and Julianna Pena, where she had voiced, her opinion on the fight and also throwing out another name that we thought she was going to be taking on, right? Irene Aldana. And, she made it clear and said that, she thought the fight was going to happen, but the UFC saw different, and she just said, hey, I'm going to fight whoever they put in front of me, right? She said she thought it was going to be her. I think we all did because, we all saw the mock posters made up. I guess one of them was fan-made, but I guess it wasn't. The one that had, the 4 fights on there with Grasso and Shevchenko, John Jones, Cyril Gane, and it also had, I can't remember who else was on the card at the time, but yeah, it had Nunes and Aldana on there as well, right? That's what kind of threw everybody off. But from there, they had switched everything up. And then there was some other things thrown out in the mix where it was going to be a rematch between Aldana and Pennington. So I never really felt like it was 100%, and I guess she felt the same way. And, they settled on the third fight with Pena because, everybody know Pena was being stubborn. She wouldn't budge, which I kind of have to give her credit for, even though we don't really want this fight. I mean, the girl stood her ground and she got her fight, right? But just looking back at the recent interview, this is what Amanda Nunes had to say about the whole situation. She said, let me see. I did think it would be Aldana. I thought it was going to be her. Everything changed to Julianna, and I was okay with it. No matter whatever the UFC showed me, the opponent, I'm gonna be happy to defend my belt. All right, which is spoken like a true champion. I think champion fights anybody. A champion don't really have to make the call outs, right? I have to keep that same viewpoint, even with Wei Lee. That's the same thing I say with Wei Lee. I don't care who the champion is, right? They really don't have to make the call out. But sometimes in certain situations, if they want a different look and they know what the fans want, if they're in touch with their social media and if they're in touch with their fans, they should make that call out and say, hey, let me get this person. Especially if you already done it 2 times with Pena, right? Y'all already been in twice. You could actually say, hey, let me look at the book. Let me look at the records here. Let me look at the rankings. All right, Mick, hey, Dana, whoever, matchmakers, can I get this fight? Can I get something different? Because Pena's getting on my nerve. I done whooped her once. Now I done whooped her. I done whooped her. Yeah, the second time around. We're 1-1, but she don't really have anything to offer, right? She could have said something like that, but I'm gonna get into that here in a minute. Let me keep on reading. So she's, I'm just gonna be happy to defend my belt. Let's see. Obviously, it's 5 rounds. I look forward to that. It's going to be a domination. If I have the opportunity to finish her, I will this time finish her. Whatever happens, I'm going to be the one who has their hand raised at the end of the fight. All right. So this time around, she says she ain't playing. She's going to go ahead and go in there and, finish her this time around if the opportunity comes. And she's going to come out the victor. Okay. And let me see. This is what the article said. Aldana was previously linked to the potential title fight earlier than UFC 289, but discussions were premature as nothing came to fruition. The Mexican striking sensation has since been tied to a rematch with at Pennington, which was targeted for UFC San Antonio, but never came to be and isn't yet officially booked. Yeah, because I did a video on that, gave my thoughts on that, and I told y'all, hey, I don't want to see that, right? That's a fight that doesn't really need to happen. So that fight is out because, Pennington already won a split decision. It was kind of an uneventful fight, and nobody really wants to see that, even though they're both at the top now, and Pennington's kind of in that mix too, if you want to decide a title eliminator or not. But nobody really wants to see that fight because it still comes down to action, okay? So that's out. So Aldana now is just kind of sitting in limbo. She's sitting in limbo without an opponent. And again, she said she thought it was going to be Aldana, but hey, it's not really her fault. So my thoughts on this fully, like I say, it's not Nunes's fault 100%, okay? Like, we can't say it's her fault because as a champion, you don't have to make the call out. The champion doesn't have to make the call out. But like I said, also, you have to give the fans what they want to a certain point if you're in touch with them. But if you look at it this way as well, it's like Nunes has already been doing that for a long time. Like she's been running through division. I mean, through the bantamweight division. I mean, her resumes are who's now, right? She's fought everybody. So when it comes down to it, she's kind of at the end of her career, and she's kind of feeling like, I already done what I could. And, as far as like trying to raise higher and higher, as far as building my brand, the UFC, I'm kind of on the tail end of my career now, right? So it's not really up to her to call out Aldana at this point, right? I mean, she's already beaten everybody in the division. Again, look at her resume. All of these names: Shevchenko twice, Chris Cyborg, Misha Tate, Holly Holm, Jermaine Durand, GDR twice. Jermaine Durand, that fight, second time around was just another schooling. Megan Anderson. She just beat all of these different names. So I can kind of see where she doesn't have to call that person out. I think I'm kind of reaching and being selfish if I'm going to get mad at her like 100% and say, hey, why don't you call her out when she's already done all the work that she's needed to do in this, in this division, So when it comes down to it, it's kind of like the matchmakers. If the matchmakers are in tune and they're really watching the fights, which I understand they probably are, they have to say something like, okay, we'll do what Amanda Nunes, what I said she could have did. We'll sit down and we'll look at it and say, okay, all right, the first fight was a shocker. It was an upset, but Nunes, she came back in the rematch, well prepared, ready to go. She completely shut out Pena. All right. Do we need a third fight right now? It is an immediate fight for both of these fighters? Nah, not really. This is how I'm looking at it, right? I'd say, nah, we don't need to do that because Pena, she got shut out last time. She lost all 5 rounds. She got dropped 5 times. I don't want to see that. Mick, you want to see that? Let's not do that. All right. Let's let Pena fight Holly Holm, or let's let her fight Aldana, sharpen her skills up, do something shocking against one of these two opponents, Holm or Aldana, okay? And then if she does something shocking, we can put her back in there with Amanda Nunes, okay? Because Amanda Nunes pretty much came back and shut everything down. Of course, she took some hits, but she came back and shut everything down and said, look, this is why people call me the GOAT, right? This is why people call me the GOAT. I'm going to come back and show you what I can do against this pit bull in Pena. I can technically tame her, which she did. She took some hits from a gritty fighter, but other than that, technique-wise, she shut her out. So let's put this thing on the back burner. Let's revisit it. Let's give Aldana this shot, Or, you know what? I know people are going to get mad, but hey, Pena might have to sit back burner compared to Rocky Pennington because Rocky Pennington's on a 5-fight win streak. People might get mad at me about that, but I might say, if I said, look, let's throw Rocky Pennington, if I had it down to Rocky Pennington and Aldana, people can't get mad at me about that because Aldana, she's on a 3-fight win streak, a couple finishes thrown in the mix. And then you got Rocky Pennington, who's on a 5-fight win streak, right? Since the loss to Amanda Nunes, she's looking good. So actually, it could come down to either one of those fighters. See, we could build the Julianna Pena fight up. See, Pena don't understand that sometimes. She want to go right back at it, and she want to, just jump back in the mix because that's her heart talking, right? She's ballsy like that, which I respect. But sometimes you got to take a break and say, hey, let's build this thing up, right? Let's do something different. Like, let's make sure my skills are better than the last time, because that's what it takes. It takes more than just thrills and the balls. You got to go in there and change something up because I really don't think Pena's going to change it up as much as Amanda Nunes changed it up in the rematch. I'm just being honest. I think she could go in there and give Amanda another tough fight and land some licks, but I don't see her winning any rounds again, man. I really don't. And like I said before, I think it's wise for a fighter like Julianna Pena to let it marinate this time since the second fight was so lopsided, because you've seen this in the past. Like, fighters take breaks from each other. Again, Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez between, let me see, it went like an 8-year period between how they fought. It was like they fought 4 times in 8 years. Let me put it that way. They fought 4 times in 8 years. They fought like once in 2004, and then they took a break 2-3 years later, came back, fought each other, took another little break, fought each other again. Then 2012 was their last fight. So in between that 8 years, they were fighting other guys to get better. So every time they would come back, they would be a match for each other, right? That's why their fights were so competitive, right? That's why their fights were so competitive. So if like Pena took a little break, she took a little break and, went and fought maybe 1 or 2 other fights. Like even Valentina did that. Valentina fought 2 fights before she jumped back in there with Amanda again, right? So I think if she was to do that, maybe sharpen her skills, she would make this fight on the level again. But to me, I think it's going to be the same thing for real. So I think it would have been wise if they just gave Aldana the fight. But again, like I said, I don't really think it's Amanda Nunes' fault 100%. It was on the matchmakers on this one to look at it the way the fans are and say, let's let it marinate and let's give Aldana the chance now. Let's give a new look, because if we're going to make this a main event, we got to make it interesting. Because if you look at the comment section on a lot of these videos, I'm talking to the UFC and I'm talking to Pena here. If you go back and look at some of the things that are being said in these interviews, nobody really wants to see it like that. I mean, unless her diehard hardcore fans, which I am a fan of Pena, and I want to see her do well. I just don't want to see her go in there and take a fight, right? I want to see her go in there and do something shocking again, right? I want to see her go in there and do something shocking. That's why I say take the time off. But if you look at the comment section on some of these videos out here, people are like, Pena don't need this fight. Nunes already whooped her. I don't want to see this fight. I don't want to see this fight. And I'm just saying, man, when it comes down to numbers, you trying to build your brand, you know, got to think about that too. You got to think about that too, because now with this being the main event and nobody wanting to see this, I don't think the numbers are going to do that well. So they're going to have a good supporting cast of male fighters on here, a solid co-main event as well. Maybe make this like a two title fights, you know, double title fights, maybe triple, right? So that's how I see it though, guys. Nunes is not fully to blame. The UFC should have taken this one and said, hey, let's put Aldana in there, give her the chance. I don't think Nunes is ducking her. Seemed more like Pena was kind of avoiding that fight because, you know, she was so stuck on trying to go for gold again. And I think this would have been a great fight, because this would have been a good chance for her to test her skills. You know, this would have been a good chance for her to test her skills against a solid striker. Because what if Pena went in there and shocked the world and beat Aldana? I'd have been like, oh, yeah, this girl going to give Nunes trouble, right? So it is what it is now, guys. Let me know in the comment section what y'all think. But final thoughts, yeah, fight is going down. I'll watch it, you know, because, you know, as long as there's action, which I know they'll bring, I'm going to watch the fight. But, you know, I don't really think it is like Nunes' fault fully. Maybe she should have said something, but, you know, I'm already kind of looking at it like this girl's ready to retire, and she's going to do her thing one more time and just show up and, you know, go out like that, right? She doesn't really have anything else to prove. But let me know, guys, what y'all think. And you know what? Before I go, though, we have to put some of the pressure on Aldana too, right? Because I know sometimes her and Grasso, they're not the type of fighters to call anybody out, but we always tell so-and-so to call people out. Do y'all think Aldana was aggressive enough? Was she aggressive? Like Tyler Santos be calling for her rematch with Valentina Shevchenko, right? There's some of these other fighters out there, Aaron Blanchfield, you know, they want to be champion. They calling out Valentina Shevchenko. You know, they'll call out fighters. So should it have been on Aldana to be a little bit more aggressive? I'll leave y'all with that question. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.